Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
The brazen stroke engineered by the Taoiseach yesterday represents an unprecedented sabotaging of the democracy of the Dáil. This mess is entirely of the government's making, and the chaos that unfolded in this chamber a response to you running roughshod over the democratic functioning of the Dáil to suit your own agenda and to protect your grubby deal with Michael Lowry. A deal so important to the self-serving political interests of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael that you move heaven and earth to allow Deputy Lowry and his group of TDs to be both in government and in opposition at the same time. Of course, this plan is of mutual benefit. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael seek to blunt the opposition and dodge accountability. Michael Lowry and his crew seek a way to gain political influence and high office. The nod, the wink, the stroke politics so associated with Fianna Fáil is not only back, but it's the very foundation of your government. A murky deal with a man you once described as a rogue politician, who you called on to resign his Dáil seat because of the findings of corruption against him, now pulls the strings as kingmaker in your coalition and gives the two fingers to the opposition, to democracy and to the Irish people. Yesterday, Taoiseach, you took a sledgehammer to the rules and procedures of the Dáil, and you were assisted in this task by the Comhairle. Yesterday, the person responsible for safeguarding the Dáil's democratic processes led the charge on behalf of the government's agenda. The Comhairle bulldozed Dáil rules to get the government's plan over the line, to protect the very deal that put her in her position, a deal brokered by her mentor Michael Lowry, who sat smiling and giving the two fingers to the people of Ireland whilst the chaos unfolded. Comhairle, you took a wrecking ball to Dáil procedure to facilitate this charade. You even got a thumbs up from the government chief whip for all your efforts. You failed to hold a vote to agree Dáil business when a vote was called. You dumped promised legislation, and in your rush to ram through the government motion, you only called a vote on an amendment, not on a substantive motion, but still declared that the government motion had been passed. This was farcical, a clear breach of Dáil rules. It was unprecedented and it was unacceptable. Your actions yesterday, Comhairle, were demonstrably partisan and lack the impartiality and independence demanded of your position. So who convinced you to play your part in this disgraceful charade? Or is it simply that bias for the government is baked into the very deal that secured your position? That is now the question. Has Ceann and Comhairle nach bhfuil sí nav cléanta nó nav splách. Hockey sí go dagan leis an rialtas chun mart offa le Michael Lowry a chusant, ní féidir leihí leanúnt araig sa fust, caithí sí dul. Comhairle, not alone have you lost the confidence of the entire opposition, you have in fact decimated it. And the Dáil cannot function properly whilst you remain in the chair. Above all, the Comhairle must be impartial, fair and independent, and by your actions you have demonstrated that you are not. Your position is therefore untenable, so I ask you to reflect very carefully on this because you need to go.
Dúspáire ní an tí in éacha leis an hachtan, gus tóil am nach bhfuil sí a ginsint na fearanna in éachar ina méad dúirt sí fin chief whip. Could I at the outset say that before this Dáil was convened, we were told in no uncertain manner that we faced a new era of total opposition. That was the Sinn Féin promise. And as we saw when we met to fulfil our constitutional duty to appoint a government, the new model of total opposition includes making it impossible to do business unless the minority allows it. It involves refusing to respect basic rules and making extreme statements and false assertions, as we've just had. Since Dáil Éireann first met, its rules have changed hundreds of times. Many times these rules have been changed without agreement between all parties. We have regularly had votes on changes to parliamentary procedure. The concept of an opposition veto is found nowhere in the democratic world. In this case, what we have is the profoundly anti-democratic demand that non-office holders be kept quiet if they support the government. Yesterday, a number of opposition spokespeople claimed that no other country in the world would do this. It is a sad commentary on their approach that they would use such inflated language to make provably false claims. A basic review of democratic parliaments around the world shows that Ireland may in fact be the only one which refuses to allow government-supporting TDs to ask priority oral questions. To give just a few examples, in Germany, all non-ministers have access to oral questions. The same is the case in France, Finland, and the Netherlands. In Australia, I didn't interrupt. In Australia, the practice is that government MPs get to ask half of all questions to the Prime Minister. In Sweden, the Prime Minister answers oral questions on alternate months and all MPs can participate. Deputy McDonald and Sinn Féin, you are not defending any democratic principle. You are promoting a destructive model of opposition, one which tries to import into this chamber the loud-hailer politics of the street, which many of you prefer to doing the business of the people and respecting all mandates. We have very serious issues facing this country. Next week, tariffs will be announced on Europe. We do have a housing crisis. We have issues on disability. Yet the number one issue for Sinn Féin, and it's what you always have done, you brought down the Northern Ireland Assembly when it suited you in the party's self-interest on a number of occasions. Your stated objective here is to undermine this institution, to undermine the government, to reduce the government majority and to create mayhem. That is what you are about. And I think anybody who uses two fingers in this House to another person is wrong, and that person should apologise. And that would apply to Deputy Lowry. I equally think, and you should face up and acknowledge this, that any deputy waving cameras in the face of other deputies is wrong and was never a part and parcel of Leinster House. And equally, I would say, the intimidatory barracking of newly elected TDs, be they independent or not, simply because they support the government, is a new law that I've never witnessed before in this House. And whatever you think of Deputy Heenan or Deputy Gillian O'Toole, they're newly elected deputies. You have other them consistently pressurise them and put them under pressure. Now, your declaration of a lack of confidence in the Comhairle is a further instalment in your overall strategy, declared before this Dáil met, of total opposition, and you will do everything to undermine the institutions of this state, which you've never been very loyal to in your long history.
So try as you may wish, Taoiseach, with all of the tools of deflection, there was one person on one side of the House that undermined democracy yesterday, and it was the government. You see, yes, you get to defend your rights as government. You have assembled your government between Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and the Lowry Independents, and that is your prerogative. I absolutely recognise that. But you don't get to put together the opposition. That's the point. The basic rule, and the most basic rule of the functioning of this place, is the distinction between government exercising its prerogatives and opposition holding you, yes, robustly to account. You don't like accountability, Micheál Martin, cry me a river, because you will be held to account. The other basic necessity is the independence and absolute impartiality of the Comhairle. And very regrettably, yesterday, that has been decimated, and the Comhairle no longer enjoys the confidence of the opposition. I will ask her again to reflect on her position, and to be clear, if necessary, we will move a no confidence motion in her.
Taoiseach to respond.
Could I say at the outset that from the very get-go of this style, you have made the life of the Comhairle impossible. I endeavoured to speak yesterday, and there's been very little commentary on this, but anyone who watched this on television yesterday, I endeavoured to speak yesterday for 3 minutes in response to you, Deputy, and your deputies in a coordinated, strategic way, determined deliberately to make sure I didn't get the opportunity to speak. The deputies, Doherty and Carty and so on, all around the House, all Oireachtas said, shout him down, Barrack, do not let him have the right to speak. That's what happened yesterday. Because, Deputy, new precedents have been set in this style by your coordinated strategy. And I know what you're about. You've been at it a long time. Sinn Féin have now. Sinn Féin have been at it a long time. Your tactics are well known. But they will be met by steel on this side of the House, because you're not going to run the House, Deputy McDonald. And Sinn Féin will not run the House. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm open to working with people, as I have over the last 5 years, on an ongoing basis. But I'm very clear from day one what you've been about in this style, and it was manifest on day one. But new precedents have been set. I don't believe this style will ever be the same again because of what has transpired over the last 7 years. Jenny, it will never be the same again.
Deputy Ivana Batrick.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.